Welcome to today's presentation. I am a corporate pleb, and this is How to Corporate. Today we'll be reviewing why it doesn't help you to help new hires. We'll talk about why there always are so many new hires in your company, the relationship to you, and why you need to avoid them. One thing you can be absolutely sure of in corporate life is that there is always a new person haunting the office. In fact, there will most likely be several noobs at any given time. Why is this an issue for you as a pleb? A revolving door at any business means that there's something wrong. People aren't sticking at their roles for a reason. If there's constantly new people coming and going, all that those new people represent is a body of work that isn't getting done and a systemic problem with your company's workforce structure. You care about having new hires loitering about your office because the more new hires you have, the less stable your company is, the less it is a good place to work, and the more work you get to do if you aren't the new hire. That's why you care about new hires. What is the reason for all the new people at your work? All right, the surface level answer, which is partially true, is that some employees don't work out and leave the company. The surface answer then places the reason for the turnover on the individual worker's personal motivations. Uncontrollable, right? The more accurate answer is that new hires are generally misplaced and set up for failure by the group that brought them into the organization, and that is human resources. Okay, why though? Why does HR get the blame for turnover? Don't they just place the best candidate for a requisition and move on? They can't control who quits or who is fired. Their job as human resources begins and ends with evaluation of candidates and placement, right? To really understand why there is always turnover, we need to look at the culture of human resources. Almost all human resource departments are composed of small groups of isolated women. There might be a wider group of recruiting agents, but the core group of HR making final hiring decisions will only ever be a handful of women. The HR team will specifically be removed from the general happenings of the company at large. They will not have a feel for what the company they work for actually does on the ground level. This is by design. Someone in HR doesn't need to know how a widget is engineered and produced. But because of this isolation, human resources exists in a gender-specific echo chamber where only their team exists insofar as they are concerned. As a result of this isolation, the culture of this team will be one of a tight-knit social group with a clear leader and subordinate followers that operate outside of their corporate society. HR culture is of a similar structure to a street gang. They will live within your greater corporate culture, but they don't really participate in it. So why do you care about HR culture? Well, human resources staffs the company you work at. If a small gang of people removed from the daily life of the company is charged with staffing, it generally won't work well for you, the ground level pleb, because you get to handle their new hires when they release them into the company. If the HR team is blind to what makes a good new hire in practice, which they are, you get to handle whatever concept of a good worker they throw at you. And because you aren't in the gang, they will never ask your opinion. You just get to deal with what they give you. For those of you who are unsure what human resources actually does, they are there simply to manage the human capital on paper. That's people to you and me. To HR, you are not a people, you are a resource or an asset. You are there on paper to be used as needed. When you were hired, you were a set of interviews paperwork, and a file. During your employment, you are an annual review and an employee profile. When you are gone, you are a closed file and a final set of tax forms. You are not a you to HR, you are a thing. I'm not going down the road of treating people fairly here. Don't worry, I'm simply fleshing out that the HR team will not care for you as a person. Factually, they're not allowed to. This is by design. The human resources group works in a bubble where they have little to no contact to the wider organization, with the exception of a few executive staff members. They can't commingle with staff as they represent the company as a client. It's important to remember human resources as a group isn't there for you, they are there because of you. They are there for the company. Human resources is like the hostess at a fancy restaurant. They welcome you, they seat you, and they might say goodbye when you leave, but everything else about your dining experience they are blind to. This isn't me hating on human resources people and their culture. It's supposed to be like this. The fact that human resources is universally set up like this means that it's a successful model. However, human resources is the responsible group as to why positions are either unfilled or filled with noobs. So why are they responsible? The underlying root of staffing issues will be because the group during doing the hiring is a detached, small gang of gender-exclusive people that has little to no idea what is going on the ground level at your company. A small gang without exposure to your company has no idea how to staff it. HR will just open and close employee files and roll the dice with gut feeling and a checklist of what constitutes a good hire for a position. If a worker they bring on board doesn't work out, to them it just means try again. To you, a new hire that doesn't work out can change your entire work dynamic. Noobs can wreck things when added to a team. For human resources, they don't see a poor fit new hire as a threat. They see them as a resource filling an open requisition. And if they don't work out, that isn't their problem. Until they leave and represent a new requisition, they'll just get ready to fill it again. So now that we know why your company will always have a roving band of new workers running around causing trouble, we can look at what this means to your day. For general discussion's sake, you can rest assured that your company will have around a 20% annual attrition rate, and that is best case. That means that there is always 20 out of 100 positions that are vacant or filled by a noob. And as a special call out, a position filled by a new hire isn't all good. It's filled with someone who doesn't know the job. Positions filled with a new hire are the Schrodinger's cat of positions, both filled and not filled. This 20% figure means that there are 20% of jobs that need to be done that are either not getting done or getting done poorly. What does this mean to you as the corporate pleb? It means more work. Just because a role is empty doesn't mean the work disappeared. So in addition to your own work, you and your colleagues get to fill in on the 20% of jobs no one is there to do. The rub is that if one of those vacant jobs is filled by a noob, the work actually increases. A new person doesn't hit the ground running. They need training. Few managers and departments have anything like formal training, even in the largest of companies. It all comes down to on-the-job training. And all on-the-job training boils down to is that the noob's manager sticks them with someone. You have to try and make sure that you are not that someone. How will they come to you? You will get a new hire tied to you mainly via a warm handoff. Your manager will come to you and have Barb or Bob in tow, and the direction will be, you get to train this noob. The manager will immediately bow out the moment they hot potato them to some sucker, and once transferred, their success or failure is the responsibility of the person training them. Did you catch that? If you are charged with training a new hire, you are now exposed to management and you are on the hook. You will have added responsibility and receive no thanks by taking on a noob. The behavior of the new hire will reflect on you. Their success will be attributed to them and not you for setting them up to succeed. So that is, if they start doing well, everyone's going to look at them and say, what a great new hire, and not look at you for training them. But if they fail, everyone will look at you. Their failure will land with you for not training them. So it's thankless in the best case scenario if they succeed, and it's threatening in the worst case scenario if they fail. So if you are saddled with training someone, your day is going to worsen by large measures. Now you have another human trailing after you that you get to explain everything to. You get to do their job and your job and narrate it all as you go along, which adds unbelievable amounts of time to your day. The things you say to this person are not in confidence, so you need to watch your back. And depending on how smart, lazy, and exploitive they are, your experience training them is likely to suck. Also, it's likely that this person will be, for all intents and purposes, something of an idiot. How do I know that? What a mean thing to say, right? How can I assume that? Okay, think to all of your current coworkers. Do you look at all of your coworkers and think, wow, what a smart, responsible, great group of people? None of them are backstabbers or apple polishers. I trust all of them to do their jobs and to do them very well. Look, I hope you have that experience, but I'm going to assume that this is not the case. So if your current, already trained coworkers are not top shelf, what are the odds that the new hire you are stuck with is going to be awesome? A new worker crowding your steps has a very low probability of working well in your favor. But let's forget all that for a moment and ask the relevant question. The question all activity in corporate life needs to come down to for you, the pleb. What specifically do you get from this interaction? What do you get out of training a new coworker? Well, one potential thing you can get is a coworker who can actually help share the load of work facing you. This is a long game potential win. Effectively, in a corporate position, it will take about a year before anyone is up to speed to the point where they could train someone coming into the organization on their job. So for this win to play out requires nothing short of a year's worth of mentoring on average. A year's worth of helping someone with an eye towards making them successful. Not just showing them where the bathroom is, but actually hand-holding to help them be successful. Then you have conditions that affect it. Not only do you need to mentor them for a year, you have to hope they, number one, stay once they are useful, and number two, are grateful enough to not screw you over once they have the opportunity. And they will get opportunities. So the potential reward in this, the best case scenario, that a person you train is useful down the line, is that they might decrease your general workload by a few percentage points. If you have a bit of a brain, you realize this is not a worthwhile investment of your time. It is a bad risk. A few percentage points in any direction tends to be negligible, and having someone around who can do your job and maybe replace you, that's a big risk. Seniority doesn't always win when the firing season comes around. Add on to that the reality that new hires are skittish. They've not committed to anything yet, and at the first whiff of a major systemic issue that your company has, which it does, their fight or flight response will be kicking in hard. If they run and you were buddy-buddy with them, you can be looked at as a scapegoat. Noobs are unproven workers, and they can drag you down by association. You have to protect yourself by keeping them at a distance. Now that we know what noobs mean to your day and the potential wins and losses from involving yourself with them, we can look at what you can do about it and what you will need to work around. Remember, you will not be able to avoid them. They will be forced upon you. The degree, though, is not without a bit of control. So how to avoid a noob? For starters, resist the urge to be overly welcoming. In fact, be aloof. Unless you were involved with hiring them, then you don't owe them anything. Always be busy and non-committal. You might have to accept the direction from management to train a new hire, but if you are busy with high-level or sensitive projects that a new hire doesn't need to be exposed to, then you can leave them to their own devices more often than not. Most importantly, understand the new hire's headspace. Remember back to your own experiences as a noob. Anyone willing to help you was a godsend. You were grateful. You appreciated it. Boy, what wouldn't you give for a mentor when you started to show you how to be successful in your new role? That's where the new hire is at in their head. If you give them solid help, you guarantee they will always be there to eat what you feed them. This isn't a nurturing relationship, though. This is parasitic. They take and cannot reciprocate. They have nothing to give you back. They also have no loyalty to you. You are the person assigned to help them. It's now your job to train them as far as they are concerned. How do you think of people whose job it is to serve you? The new hire won't be giving you a gift card for training them. They'll complain about you first to their manager when blame is headed in their direction with a "but I wasn't trained on that" cry. Besides dodging as much time with the new hire as you possibly can, you must also consider self-defense. When the new hire messes up and points vaguely or directly to you, it is imperative that you have already established protection. Predict how a new hire will try and screw you if they're in trouble. Always embed ways out. The best way is to give half help when training. What does this mean? It means you needn't give anyone the full picture of how to do X. Give the highlight reel only and be general in direction. If you give step-by-step instructions for someone on how to do a task and document it and send them an email and they follow your steps but something is missed, the new hire will have a document that squarely puts blame on you. But if you give them a basic play-by-play on a task and they mess it up, there will be nothing to point back at you. Also, keep in mind, there is a real chance the person you train is your replacement. If you set them up to be as good at your job as you are, or better, you will have just screwed yourself. Giving half help is your own protection as a pleb at the bottom level of the corporate ladder. No one else will protect you, so you have to think through to cover yourself. You must also limit your exposure to the new hire. Help the new hire only for specific tasks and for a small window of time each day if you're required. Leave them in the cold as much as possible. If you help too much, they will never not be in your business. If you help not at all, they'll complain that you didn't train them. You have to give just enough help to be able to say you gave help, but make sure you keep them from being too reliant on you. You may have picked up on a tone here, one that can be seen as less than team player. That's correct. As a pleb, corporate life is dog eat dog. The person you train today is your jerk of a manager tomorrow, or replaces you at noon. There is no recognition if you help them be all they can be. There is only more work for you. At the low end of the totem pole, there is no gravy. And what does this mean to you? It means that you, the trainer and not the trainee, you have absolutely no business getting anywhere near new people. New people are volatile. They do not value the job they have to the same extent you do. They're likely to blow up, and if you are not careful, they can blow up alongside you. They cannot and most likely will not give anything back to you for your efforts over and above your duties. You might have a knee-jerk reaction right now. What? I shouldn't help someone if there isn't anything in it for me? Correct. Never do anything for anyone in the corporate world unless you are getting something specific out of it. And as we've reviewed here, the new hire doesn't have anything to give you. They can only take. So help yourself by not helping them. Remember, the human resources group will have a new candidate lined up looking for someone to show them where the break room is if the current new hire jumps ship. Don't panic. If they work out, that's their business. And if you think you are training a future leader who will remember you when they are in a position of power, you will be sad when they get promoted and they leave you behind. Don't indulge in impossible future fantasies. You only need to focus on yourself and your career, not on a noob. Their success is not your responsibility. Their success is their responsibility and human resources. So do yourself a favor and stay out of it. Thank you for joining me. Please come back and explore the corporate world from the standpoint of a common worker pleb at any time. See you soon.